Okay. Hello, I'm Robert Boschman.
Hi, Robert.
So, what is your full name? Why did your parents select this name for you, and do you have any nicknames?
Anyway, my full name would be Margaret Walker Robinson Barron.
Mm-hmm. Do you know why?
Well, my parents, my grandmother's name was Margaret, and that had a big influence, I think, on. And her maiden name was Walker, so that's how they selected my middle name.
It's funny how you married someone
I know
Walker.
it. I know it. Isn't that funny?
Right, Walker.
Anyway, and can't remember what it was.
Do you have any nicknames?
Well, of course, a lot of girls named Margaret get nicknamed Maggie, but my mother wouldn't allow that.
Mm-hmm.
So I never had a nickname. It was always Margaret.
Mm-hmm. That's good. When and where were you born?
I was born in 1943 in St. Louis, Missouri. Not that far from Kansas City.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, what was the house like where you grew up?
Well, when we lived in St. Louis, which I really don't remember too much, we just lived in an apartment. And then we moved to Fayetteville, Arkansas. And I grew up in a house on Lafayette Street. It was 2-story, and when we first lived there, it was 2 apartments. And we lived upstairs, and then my parents bought the home, and we lived downstairs and rented the upstairs apartment. But it was close to town and close to school.
But most of your, you say, childhood comes from your Fayetteville home, and
Right.
Which was, you lived there from when to when, would you say?
Well, from the time I was in kindergarten through high school.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then, what would you say that's the earliest memory you have?
Well, one of the first things that pops into my mind is, going to my grandparents' home, and they lived in Rogers, which is about 20 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but I loved to go up there because they had a big house and a real pretty yard and a dog that I thought was so cool that I loved. And my grandfather was a lot of fun, and it was always fun to be there.
Right. Let's see. I'd say so. But what would you say was your main hobby when you were kind of that younger age?
Like in grade school,
yeah.
Kindergarten, grade school, and I took piano lessons, and I took ballet lessons. And those were both in grade school, and a lot of times in those days, little girls did that sort of thing.
What was high school more like? What did you like to do then?
Well, gosh, by the time I got to high school, I had become something of a sports fan, so I always enjoyed watching the high school. Well, starting in junior high, basketball and football and all that sort of thing in high school. For sure, we always had pretty good teams in Fayetteville, and I liked being on the pep club and all that sort of thing.
Well, with the going to all the university games must have fueled that passion probably.
Well, and I started going to the university games when I was about 8 years old. And when my father, I was an only child, and my father was a big sports fan, and he decided that I was old enough to start going to the football games, but he wanted to be sure I knew something about it. And I had a little blackboard on an easel, I think I've told you before, and he would draw the field, you know, on the blackboard, and he'd do little X's and O's to show me what the main positions were for the players, and I'd always sit with him at the games, and he would explain always what was going on.
Like we actually lost or anything like that. That's nice of him. So what was did you enjoy school when you were younger?
Oh, I did.
Grade school. What was your favorite subject?
I did. Well, in grade school,
Recess
I'm not
doesn't
sure.
count.
Recess. Anyway, but I always liked reading and social studies and things like that. I don't think math was ever really my strong suit, but I did all right. And in high school, I always liked the sciences, and particularly the biological sciences.
Me too. And you went to college, and
I
you
did.
went to the University of Arkansas, correct?
I did. U of A. I was a Fayetteville girl, and
What year did
and
you?
I thought about going to a school in Virginia, but when it came right down to it, I really wanted to go to the University of Arkansas, and I always lived on campus, and I really didn't come home very much, even though it was just across town. Anyway, so I really always felt like I was in a different world.
Right. But what was your major for your?
Anyway, my undergraduate major was speech pathology and audiology, which I really enjoyed a lot.
Awesome. And you weren't ever mentioned in the newspaper, but you did have several. You had several things about you in the yearbooks of.
Anyway, I was really real active in high school, and I was a class officer my junior year and senior year in high school, but before that, a small airline came to Fayetteville, and at our airport, and my friend Nancy's father was head of the Chamber of Commerce, and he wanted to do a promotional flight from Fayetteville to Muskogee, Oklahoma, which was just about a 45-minute flight. But he had a daughter my age, and he got together several of our friends, and my father went along with us, and we flew back and forth to Muskogee, and had a picture in the paper, and it was a lot of fun.
Were you scared at all going on the airplane? Was it your first time on an airplane?
And well, it really was my first time on an airplane. It was quite an adventure. But it was really a lot of fun. I wasn't really scared.
And that happened like your later high school years, is that right? Or was that?
Anyway, no, it was before that.
Oh.
Before that.
That's cool.
Anyway, but that's one of my favorite memories. I think I still have the picture. I'll show you.
And what were some global events that were pretty prevalent when you were growing up?
Well, of course, I don't really remember. I was born during World War II, and my father knew that he would be drafted,
Right.
and decided to go ahead and enlist.
Did he do that just to get more say in what he would do once he was?
Pretty much, yes, pretty much, and he already had his law degree, and they wanted to send him to officer candidate school, but he declined. He really wanted to serve his time and got out, and he wasn't intending to make it a career or anything. So since he was a lawyer, they made him a criminal investigator and sent him to Hawaii. Because a lot of troops would come and go through Hawaii, and so he would investigate motor pool robberies and things like that. It was really kind of unique assignment.
There wasn't any fighting?
No combat. But although he kept thinking they would send him to the Philippines and kind of wished.
Well, right, because they were, it was a hot spot, you could say, with Japan.
Right. But they kept him in Hawaii, and he was there. He was in the Army a couple of years.
That's good. So, probably the most prevalent war to you would be World War II.
Well, except that the Vietnam War started when I was in college.
That was.
And then I saw my friends start to go off.
Yeah.
After college and end up serving in Vietnam.
Was there lots of anti-war stuff around Fayetteville, or was that
not so much here? Not so much here. Everyone was.
Yeah. I gotcha. That's very cool. Let's see. So your dad was military, and then were there any other important people who were in the military in your family?
Well, and of course,
both.
As you know, my husband Max was went to West Point and was in the Army for a career. Was in quite some time and served in Vietnam and received his master's degree in physics from Purdue University and ended up going back to West Point to teach, but to teach physics.
Right. Awesome. So tell me about your children.
Well, as you might know, I have two. Courtney, your mom, and your uncle Rob.
What are some things about them that you remember when they were younger?
Well, your mother was 3 years older than her little brother, and first of all, they looked a lot alike when they were little. You've seen pictures of them. And your mother was so cute. She really enjoyed, I think, having a little brother. And they always got along real well, and she watched out for him.
That's good.
Took good care of him.
I think it's good to have. It's a good situation to have an older sister and your brother, because they're not going to fight too much, or.
Nah. They always got along real well.
Well, how did you choose their names?
Well, picked Courtney because I just liked, truly, I just liked that name for a girl. And Uncle Rob's name is John Robinson Walker. John for his dad, and Robinson was my middle name, plus his great-grandfather's name was John Robinson, and also his grandfather. Anyway, so it seemed logical, and to call him Rob.
It's, I like, traditional names are good.
True.
Yes. How about for each of them, when they were growing up, what was your proudest moment for each child?
Well, with Courtney, your mother, I would have to say one of my very proudest moments was when she was valedictorian of her high school class. Anyway, she was really, really a good student.
They keep reminding me that.
Sorry about that. Nah.
How about Rob?
Anyway, Rob was just really such a neat guy, and he was never a superstar in athletics, but he enjoyed playing football in junior high and high school. He was kind of a little guy, but anyway, he had some really good plays, and anyway, he had lots of nice friends, and anyway, I just enjoyed when they'd come over.
Right. That's good. That's good. Going back to when you were in college, if you could choose the same, going to Arkansas, same major, everything, would you still would have done it again?
Well, I think so. I think my parents were real believers in getting really a good liberal arts education.
Right.
So I was really glad I was in that particular college at the university, because I really had a nice, well-rounded class selection, and took a lot of science, English, history, so forth.
Good.
Anyway, before I started, we are well-rounded, I think, and I enjoyed my major, and then later on, years later, I went back to Arkansas and got my master's degree in rehabilitation counseling, which I enjoyed a lot.
Who were your best friends?
Growing up.
Well, how about just at university?
Well, let's see, I was in a sorority, so I had a lot of friends. And in fact, one of them, his name was Nancy Yon at that time. All these years later, your Uncle Rob happened to marry her daughter. So Nancy and I have a lot of fun talking about our college days and saying, can you believe that
Sure you did.
my son married your daughter? Who knew that would ever happen?
It's a small world, isn't it?
Very, very much so. And of course, my other really good friend in college and all my life was Nancy Gordon. Anyway, and we're still awfully good friends. Anyway, we did lots of fun things together.
That's great. So what accomplishment are you most proud of that you've done?
Well,
Having such a great grandson. Is that...
oh yes, yes, of course. Anyway, and there's no question. I mean, it's so much fun to to have grandchildren. It really,
It kind
it
of
really, truly is.
it does kind of let you do the process over again, but this time you know.
Right,
it's gonna
right.
happen.
But, you know, I don't have to, you know, pass judgment on anybody. I can just, just enjoy.
Right.
And one of my, you know, as you know, one of my big life events was having a ruptured brain aneurysm.
Right.
And I was so fortunate. I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma at that time, and it was very dicey and touch and go. And I don't really remember much about being really, you know, in intensive care or anything like that. But I ended up having brain surgery, and I was paralyzed, and so one of my biggest accomplishments was really getting through that. You know, there's no question. As you know, I've lost half the vision in both my eyes, but I still was able to go to graduate school later on and keep on going. And I recovered my left side, so. Anyway, but I don't drive, so that's a real downside.
I'm sure in
But that's okay.
It's okay.
Considering what might have been.
I know a lot of people that are very thankful that how it worked out.
Yes, I think so.
Who were your role models, would you say?
There's no question but what my parents really were. You know, as I said, I was an only child, and they both had lots of influence. You know, very positive influence. We were, you know, really a good little family, and my father always talked to me about important things like doing your very best, and that honesty was the most important thing. And he always said, honesty is the best policy. That was one of his favorite things, and that's true. That's very true.
So, I know it's gonna be tough, but what's one thing that you want people to remember about you?
Ooh. I don't know. I think, most of all, you know, I hope, you know, your mother and your uncle and you boys and so forth, just think back and feel like I was, you know, pretty good person.
I'm sure people that's something.
Oh, I hope so.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, I enjoyed it very much. Thank you. Did we do all right?
Oh, yeah, you did great.
Nothing, just real boring.
No. That'll be good.
Okay.